Welcome to What the Biz, where we talk about building successful businesses, balancing life, and all the WTB in between. With your hosts,
I'm Brigitte Vector.
And I'm Dan Prochko. Another week. Here we are again.
We are here.
Yeah. Welcome to What the Biz. I'm Dan. That's Brigitte. You already know that from the intro. I don't know why
Why not?
I'm re-introing. Why not?
Maybe
Why
they
not?
forgot. Maybe they skip it, like do that 30-second skip ahead.
Oh, it's just intros. I'm just going to skip. Done. There's nothing good.
Give us the good stuff. So
yeah. And today there won't be. It's just a double intro. So anyway.
You didn't get to miss it. No.
So what's new? What you been up to?
Oh my. I think I mentioned last week, but onboarding the new COO, my chief operator. So excited. That is going really well. I just got done doing a live webinar before I came on this to record this with you. So I feel like I have like that raspy voice right now. Just got done talking for a long time.
That vocal fry, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
I never got why people, I get why, coming from radio, why people would like poo-poo on it and really, get negative about it. But at the same time, it's like, look, we're human. Our voices do what they do. Like, calm down. It's not that bad, It's what people sound like.
Well, it can just, everybody can pretend like they're listening to somebody else today, but it's still me.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. My webinar I did today was, so I do them every month. Like the first Thursday is typically the month, but of course, 4th of July fell this month. So we switched it up, but, we were going through the mid-year reset, just kind of reevaluating goals, walking through a business roadmap, going through the changes that happen in business. And I love doing this. And I love talking about it today because it forced me to kind of do the same thought process. And it was a good webinar, some good questions at the end, I love doing webinars. It's probably one of my favorite things in my business.
That is something that we're about to kick off and announce real soon for us as well. And so we'll be doing pretty much AMA marketing webinars. May have a topic, but we'll definitely always have time for some questions with it. So
I love it.
Launch those in August. So you should see those. Those will hit pretty soon.
Awesome. I know I want to start bringing some guests in on mine, just kind of as things are coming up and we're hearing, other things happening. But I don't know, it's been really good because it's like a catalog too of resources, like if somebody, comes to us with a question around setting goals, it's like, oh yeah, I did a whole session on this. Here's the recording. Reach out if you have more questions. Typically give great downloadable resources. Like today, they got a roadmap and a 1-page strategic plan they can use. So I like the coaching side a lot. How do we help you grow? How do we help you make more money?
That's awesome. Yeah. Where do people find more about that though, if they wanted to join in to the next one?
So typically joining our email list is the best way. So if you go to our website, you'll see a way to subscribe there, get on that newsletter. And I send out, I actually do all of that right now because I like part of that. I need to hire a Dan though, so somebody can write all my copy because that is not my expertise, but we just sent out it's announced in newsletters. I typically do social media postings about it with the link. I did not this month. This month definitely got away with me with the holiday, but newsletter, social media.
Yeah, you said website, so I'm going to say it because you didn't. There's a domain, Vegter Financial, VEGTER financial.com. Of course, it's in the show notes, so check that out. Get on the next one. I can confirm that Brigitte gives a lot of value in everything she does. So
thank you.
Gotta go check that out. Yeah. So me, what have I been up to? Oh man, just closed a new client. I was telling you before. Yeah, it was kind of like a ghost. It was a ghost thing a little bit. Been talking with the client for a while and like sent out, had the pitch and everything, and they couldn't make a decision on the spot, which totally sucks. A lot of my clients do, and I can just send everything immediately and done. But they couldn't make a decision on the spot, but they did say, let's schedule our kickoff date. I'm like, that's great. That goes really well. When a client says that, that's awesome. Although I didn't have the first check, I didn't have the contract signed, nothing. So they show up to the kickoff meeting, which I wasn't sure they were going to show up to because I just saw them a week ago at a networking event, and they're like, oh yeah, we're still talking about it. And then I followed up on email and heard nothing. And then they show up and it's like, we're ready to go. Let's do this. Let's knock it out of the park. And I'm like, that's great. But we had to, not just but in a bad way, just we had to use the first like 15 minutes to make sure all of that administrative stuff got taken care of, which usually you take care of before the kickoff meeting. So, but that was fun.
That's so exciting.
Or yeah. Do you know there's this whole industry of home watch? It kind of sounds creepy now that I say it out loud, but it's called it's the home watch. There's a association and everything. And it's a whole industry where if you have the, privilege of owning a second home, okay, or a vacation home, they are a service that will check in on your home from time to time to make sure everything's in order. And if you're away and you have to have other vendors come in or contractors do stuff, they will be there to make sure that they do the work right, take pictures before, after, and everything, and send off to the homeowner so that, everything's taken care of, so part property management, part we're checking on the home to make sure things are still in good order. They usually also have like recommendations for great contractors for et cetera, and so we're working with them, help them find some new clients. So
what a great service. I feel like, are they all over? Like, do they have
no, they're not.
local?
They have their own region. They have a region.
Okay.
What's interesting is they're part of this association that actually divvies up regions within the association, which is really neat.
Okay.
So anybody who's a member, like, you can't be a member if you're overlapping a region with someone else, kind of thing. So it's not a networking thing, but it is an association where they help each other kind of grow, but within their regions. So no, they're not a national chain, but there are many of them that have like offices in, say, Florida, but then also out in like Washington, or in along the East Coast. They'll have like multiple places where they're at, but they're not everywhere.
So I think there is something similar that I have, I ran into. So I went to a networking event. It was actually a chamber event when we were down in Hilton Head, South Carolina, kind of, enjoying the beach. I like to stop into networking events when I'm in other areas to just kind of meet people. And there is something similar down there because obviously that's an area of a lot of people with second homes. So quick tip, if you are vacationing somewhere and own a business, drop into some of those events. You can probably easily find something. Like they always have, like the 501 networking or coffee meetings. You could probably find a BNI that you can drop into, especially if you can perform services, across the country. It's a really good way to kind of network and meet people. So, but all that to say, I think there's something, I don't think it's called that, but something similar. Yep.
Yeah. I love doing that too. I've done it before as well. I haven't done it on like long distance travel trips just because we have itineraries and I've been meaning to try and like carve out, but Jenny's always like, my wife, she's always like, for the listeners, by the way, she's always like, you're going to do work. We're on vacation. And I'm just like, yeah, like I'm here. I'm going to capitalize, It's like, you're going to sleep till 10. I'm up at 8. Let me go. I'm just going to go. I'll be back. I'll have coffee in hand. How about that? I'll have your latte when I get back,
I love it.
They
did a big gala chamber event one of the times we were down there. And so it was almost like a night out for my husband and I, right? We got to dress up. It was at a really nice restaurant. We bought the tickets for it. So not only were we networking, but it was still it was a fun event to go do. So just a unique spin on building your network. Yeah,
you can definitely find some cool clients that way because it's a totally different area that, you're not in. So yeah, really neat. Yeah. So today we're talking about outgrowing your client base. And I know that you, Brigitte, have been excited to talk about this in a way, just like you've prepped for this quite a bit. And I love this topic too, because we've talked a lot about focus definitely recently. And, a lot of what we've talked about over the last year and a half of doing this podcast has been, really understanding your target customer. And so I guess let's just start with, what does it mean to outgrow a client?
So I really want to emphasize that it's normal and it's okay, because I feel like, especially other business owners that I run into, or when this topic comes up, it's like, well, what am I doing wrong that I'm outgrowing my customers? And it's actually a very healthy thing in your business to outgrow customers. So it's okay. Give yourself the pass. You're doing the right thing. And I almost look at it as a phase, right? When you're first starting out, you're kind of testing. Who do I like working with? Who bodes the best with me? Like, where can we provide the best service or product, right? And then you're refining as you go. So every revenue level, you're kind of refining it. So I think it's just, not only do you outgrow your customers, but sometimes your customers outgrow you, which is also okay, right? So it's just the timing and the need and knowing when to recognize it and start to make those pivots. So when, you're kind of feeling maybe some of that disconnect, it's probably time to maybe go back and revisit your values and re-identify, that target client avatar, if you will, build them again. We've experienced this. We've gone through this a few times, and I think we are about to go through yet another big phase of, outgrowing current customer base, or at least some of it, and really refining into who we want to serve. And I know you went through a big one in a pivot in your business too.
Yeah, we did. When we started way back in 2008, we were a design agency for websites, and that's all we did. And it was small business websites. It wasn't, we were talking small, mom and pop, a few $100,000 a year in revenue, like tiny companies that just couldn't afford solid websites. And so over time that had to change, and so we're now a full service marketing agency. So we made that pivot. And the first one was, we're going to offer full service marketing to everybody. We can do this for any company, and one thing that I always say, and I know you've heard me say it, if you're for everybody, you're for no one. It's true. Nobody will really understand who you are, what you do, and why you work with them. And so we had to refine that and now we've pivoted toward home services, or services for homeowners, pretty much is really a lot of it. Of who we work with. And so, time and time again, just keep refining in that way. One thing that you touched on was sometimes it, outgrows you. And I thought that was an interesting point because for us, that's really key. We work with small businesses, if they reach more than a few million, like that's just not something, they've reached a level where, what they're doing is much more sophisticated isn't the word. It's just, it has a different feel and energy that we are good at providing. And that's okay, because they need something that is going to take them to that next level that they want to hit. And we're not that house. We know how to get them to that point. There's somebody else that's really good at taking them beyond. And that's just what we're good at. If companies want to stay at that point, more than happy to work with them. But when they're like, no, we need to go, 3 times this size to 10 mil plus, for like a home service business that's crazy huge for a company like that. And they tend to need somebody different than us. So we just know where we work well, because if we stuck with those larger businesses, we just wouldn't give them the outcomes they want, and everybody would hate each other. And so instead of doing that and us breaking our backs and getting stressed and everything, it makes so much more sense to refer them somewhere else, or only keep the certain pieces that make sense and find them that other partner that's going to help them with what they're looking to do next. That way everybody's happy and all goals are being met. So that's how we've kind of experienced this one quite a bit.
Well, that's a great point too, because, the resource pull when they get to a certain point doesn't make sense for your business model, probably.
No, yeah.
And if you did that, you would be not only hurting your own business, but like you said, they also wouldn't be getting what they needed. And it's completely normal and it's completely fine. And, when you build businesses to the point that they've outgrown you, you've done your job and you've done it really well.
That's exactly how we view it. It's like, hey, you've hit your goal. Your goal to us was to hit that 1 million, 2 million. Great. You're there. You want to go to 5, 10, you know what? That's somebody else. Okay. Here's where we can still help you if you want, but that's really going to be someone else,
Fly, little butterfly.
That's it. Good for you. Yeah. You've evolved. Good for you. You're no longer a Bulbasaur. You're now I did a whole Pokemon thing and I can't finish it. Ivysaur. There you go. I did it. I found it. I pulled it out.
That's funny.
But that's just another form of, what you were talking about originally is like knowing who you like to work with and not. One of the other ways that we see this quite a bit is usually when we work with somebody who's in an industry that's like similar to what we work with, but not exactly who we work with. And they tend to ask for something that isn't indicative of those companies that we're with. For instance, like home services, they don't do a lot of e-commerce. Then all of a sudden comes this one company that's like, oh, we sell cleaning products, and it's like, oh, we want you to do that e-commerce piece too. And it's like, we've done e-commerce, we're not the best at it. And like you just said, it's that resource drain. If we say yes to that, we now have to put time there that may not get the outcome the client wants. And then that whole relationship is soured. And those services that are working well, they're not going to like those either because this one piece doesn't work. And beyond that, that resource drain, if other clients need us for other things, it takes time away from bringing on the right clients or the perfect fits. So it's like anytime a client comes to us or a prospect comes to us, is like, hey, can you do this piece? I really want to do this. If it's not what we do, we tend to say no, nicely, of course, and find them someone to work with so we can keep, what we're doing. But it's like, not really. Here's how I would see it work. Can I find someone for you to do that, or whatever? And they tend to say yes. And then we find a partner and they come in. But it's great because we then don't have to bumble around something that we're not experts in. I hate that about marketing agencies, I'm going to say. I know a lot of them that say yes to everything, and there's no way they're good at everything. So yeah, sorry, there. I got on a soapbox for half a second for 2 sentences, and I'm going to step off. But that's the piece. Like, be careful of that. Like, if your agency is saying yes to everything, that's very, very strange. Because that means they have to have an expert on staff in those things. Now, if you're getting great results, awesome. If you like it, good for you. You found a unicorn. Call me and let me know who they are.
Yeah.
I want to buy them. I want to buy them.
We experience the same thing. So like when people think accounting, they think everybody does the same thing or finances, right? And there are definitely specialties. We don't focus on taxes, and we do that for a reason. It's just like the tax preparers don't want to focus on the day-to-day operations and, strategic growth. That's what we like. We want to do your day-to-day financial tasks, and we want to help you grow. But if we were to start dipping our toes, we have a lot of clients that want us to get into tax world. But if we started dipping our toes there, that is a whole different market that we have to keep our skills up on. It's a resource pull, and it really is going to drain the great services we're providing right now in the day-to-day world. And it really just doesn't make sense for us. And so, we get a lot of people that are like, well, if you can't do both, then, we really want a one-stop shop. And while I get that for ease, there is so much value, just like you were saying, like finding those in their specialties. There is a reason why tax preparers focus on tax, and there's a reason why there's another side of accounting that focuses on your day-to-day. And it's called the financial dream team, and you really should have somebody in each of those arenas. And so if you're in an industry and you feel this, right? Like maybe you have customers that are consistently asking you for something different. I like to take a step back and analyze, what is it going to take to do that? Is there enough need for everybody that it makes sense? And is it even something that we're passionate about? Every time that you're adding one-off service, like just something that doesn't fit your typical mold, you are pulling away from that next ideal client because you're not looking for them anymore, and you're actually hurting what your business growth could be. And
yeah,
I want to say for the listeners that we have that are new, right? Like maybe you're just getting into business world, or maybe you're still trying to grow your business. Hearing us say this, you're probably like, yeah, that's great. Like I'm not in a place where I can just say no, right? Like maybe you need the income to survive. We get it. We were there. We totally understand. But if I could take myself today and give previous self advice, it would have been to learn the word no maybe earlier, and my sales and my revenue would have increased much faster if I would have stayed true to what I really wanted to serve.
I hands down totally agree. I was thinking about that the other day. Like I niched into home services. Had I done this, say 10 years ago, I've been doing this for 16 years. So say I did it 10 years ago. The expert I am now took me 5 years. 10 years ago, I'd be here like 8 years, 7 years faster, to where I'm at. And for anybody, like you just said, just starting, you may feel you don't have that expertise in whatever that niche is. Nobody does when they first start there. It's like you go find it. Neither did we. Like when we went into home services, that first client we got, sure, we had marketing experience, but whatever it is you're good at, you have that experience. You bring that to the table. You're going off on your own, starting your own business because you believe you have that expertise. You can probably take that to any industry. No industry is known, from the inside out until you're in it. And so it's by doing those initial projects. Sure, maybe you have to do something on a discount in return for a case study to get more experience so that you learn the lingo so that, the next one is easier to close because you now know how they talk, the sales cycles, what the cycles of the year look like within the industry. But it takes getting your foot in the door in a small way, which is hard when you're new. We get it. But you're going to go so much further by focusing because everybody's going to know you're that person or you're that company. You are the expert there because that's all you focused on for so long. I really would have redone it. I really totally would have redone it and just niche down and focus on something, whether it's home services or something else, just something.
Agreed. And if current self would listen to current self, I would probably niche even further.
I know, right? Oh, I'm thinking the same thing right now.
Yes. Like, like, hello, like you're talking to yourself here too. Like I can't say, we do say no to things, right? Like we're to that point. We do
all the time.
We are selective, not selective. Like I don't feel like I can't work with anybody, but I want to serve the people I'm working with the best. But I know that we can niche down further.
Yeah.
I'm still hesitant to it, even though I know it's what I have to do. It's so silly. I don't.
Sure. It is very, well, look, we have big hearts is what it is. We want to help many people. I really do. I truly believe that and truly want to help businesses succeed. Like every business owner that I meet has an amazing story. And I'm always just like, yeah, you deserve to be bigger than you are. Let me help. Oh, wait, shoot. This is totally going to get in the way. And then, and then I shoot myself in the foot. And in the end, that person or that client, potentially, hopefully not, but they may not get the best that they could have gotten kind of feeling. It's like, I don't want that for them, So yeah, we've had a lot of retail come our way recently and a few other things in like e-commerce. And we've just had to say, that's just not us. We're not into that. But hey, go talk to these guys, So yeah.
Yep. We have a handful. So we have a lot of grandfathered clients right now. And as we've continued to niche, you can feel the pull. So that is another sign in your business, right? When those clients are starting to really stand out of, gosh, they really don't fit where we give the best service anymore. You'll feel it, you'll see it, and you'll know that it's probably time to start to make some action plans of, if you need to move them into a different provider, how are you going to do that? And, it's okay because they're probably also feeling the same way with your services, right? If you're feeling that they're not the best, they're probably feeling that they're not the best. So
yeah,
I think the earlier you identify it, the better that you can, salvage the relationship and keep a good positive ending and referral partner, hopefully. So
do you like me find in the bookkeeping accounting industry that there's the same thing happens though, where there's a lot of firms that say, yeah, we'll take it, even though they're not the best at it. That's probably indicative of every industry, isn't it? Probably.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Stay away
from
I
it.
even see it in groups. So I'm sure that you're in marketing groups online, right? And just some of the questions that come out in some of the accounting groups of, I've never served a client like this. What do I do with? And it's like, wow, you took on a beast of a client because like, I get it, it's accounting, but man, there are some specialties that unless you have that experience, you probably shouldn't be diving into it. So
yeah,
yep.
I'm just thinking like movie making law. Like if somebody's like a movie, I'm not just law, but like even accounting, like accounting for movies. I'm like, if I've been doing say retail shops and somebody comes to me like, oh, I got a movie studio. You want it? It's just like, I don't know anything about that. I'm sure I could apply what I know, but why would I want to when I have this expertise in something and can really find those clients and make it really, really beneficial for them. So yeah. Yeah.
I think it comes down also to just following, your gut or where your passions are. I mean, as you're working with people, you're going to find the natural places that you gravitate towards, and, just honoring that as you're working through it. We've always, like, even from the beginning, I knew that I didn't want to service those like retail shops. I didn't want to get into inventory. We don't do things with construction. Like, those are very specialized industries that would take a ton of pull from us. So even just having like a generalized, section to begin with, like, we focus in service industries. We really like the creatives. We really like the coaching and consulting. And that's kind of where we're starting to focus, that, that creative side, the coaches, solopreneurs, and really just helping them grow. And we know we don't want inventory. Please do not.
Yeah.
But there are specialists in that world, and we'd be happy to introduce you. But I think just, having and knowing where your limits are and honoring them. Yeah.
So we've kind of alluded to it a bit and tiptoed around it, but like, what do we do with those companies that we've outgrown? I mean, I've already hinted a little bit to it, where we've instead of, they come to you, if they're outgrowing you, they're coming to you with new projects or new ideas that you're just not really your wheelhouse. And I think one of the ways is to help them find that person or agency that can take that one piece so you can still keep the rest. If that relationship is great that way, you can try and work that way. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends what that is and how integrated that new piece that they're asking for is to the rest. For us, for instance, we don't do video. Like, we just don't capture video. That's not our thing. We're more strategy, ads, web, digital pieces. We can take creative and do stuff with it to find promotion, but we don't make that creative, at least not video and photography. So we tend to partner with those types of agencies. And then when we get the final asset pieces, we can take over and do what we need to do. And actually, there's very many marketing agencies that don't do that video side because it's so expensive and highly specialized. When there is an agency that does that, they're very heavily into really video stuff, but not the rest. Like, you're not going to find them to be the best web agency or the best SEO agency or advertising, but they're great at video storytelling, probably social content, maybe video advertising. Maybe they're great at that, over the top, OTT, like advertising across Roku and Hulu and, Amazon, etc. They may be great at that kind of thing. So that's one way that we've worked with those companies that have kind of outgrown us a bit or need something that's not in the wheelhouse, is finding that partner while still retaining the piece that we're good at. Anything come to mind for you?
I think in our industry, it's hard to break it apart like you could. Like, you have a different specialty where you can break, those services apart. And especially when you have partners that, they don't focus in your specialty, right? So you guys are a great partnership in that way. I feel like accounting can be very difficult to break up because when right hand doesn't know what left hand's doing, it gets hard.
Right.
So,
well, I guess I think the place that I was thinking in your industry is more like that tax preparation versus bookkeeping, and I think you were talking about this earlier already, that your team does the books. Somebody else can do that tax prep. You don't have to put those two together. So when a client comes to you asking for those services or tax liability decrease and, all of that legally, that's, a CPA has to jump in on a lot of that. And that's where I feel like companies that are outgrowing, looking to those things, you can still retain while looking at that, at least for a period of time. And there's probably other ideas, but I agree. I'm sure it's difficult to split that out otherwise.
Yeah. So if it's day-to-day outgrowing, like, we've had clients that have implemented new software in their companies that just does not play well with the accounting software we use. And while we could learn it, and while we don't recommend they change the accounting software, and often it's not even the accounting software that they've changed, it's something that touches accounting software, and they didn't think about it, didn't bring us into the fold. Our team, to have us learn all of that new stuff just doesn't make sense. And so that would be a time that we would find somebody that specializes in that or that wants to learn it. The tax side it is different than day to day. And this normally is just an education piece that we give our clients from the beginning. We do have a CPA on staff. I am a full accountant. I'm degreed in that. I can do taxes. I have the ability to do taxes. I have my P10 or whatever they call it. So we can speak to taxes and we can prep our clients to that point. We just don't file. And so what I always love to tell my clients is it's a check and balance, to be honest. If I'm in your books every single day, you should have somebody else filing those taxes because then they're also monitoring your financials. So we are a very honest firm, obviously. If we weren't, we wouldn't be here, but it keeps everybody in check. And it allows the tax preparers to keep up on tax codes and maybe some additional deductions and special things happening in the IRS that we may not know about, but we may find other deductions that we can tell the tax preparer about. So you're actually getting a double bonus of having multiple eyes on your financials that nothing should be missed ever. Because not to talk negative about tax preparers or CPAs.
Then don't let me do it. No, go for it.
I was just going to say they're busy at tax time and they are human, and that doesn't, and I'm human. So if I can help them not miss things and they can help me, like, you win, you ultimately win. And it reduces your tax bill because you're not paying them those tax preparer amounts to do your books at the end of the year. So
there's also a misconception in your industry that I've learned over the years is that when you go to CPA for tax preparation, they're not double checking your books. Whatever you did in your accounting is what they're going to use. So if that's wrong to begin with, or maybe not wrong, but inaccurate in some way, you may lose out on deductions or other, offsets, etc., because you did your own books or because, something was just off. So that's such a good point, around that, and why having both is so great. And maybe why not working with a CPA that has bookkeeping internally, because they're not focusing so much on that. They're still focusing on the CPA on the whole, or being a CPA firm. So
great point.
Very, very interesting. Yeah.
And I think there's a misconception on cost, right? Just like there probably is for you too. If I have two in the accounting world, it's going to cost me way too much. Well, actually our packages are not at the bazillion-dollar rate that you're paying per hour for tax preparation. It's a completely different flat fee that you get. So I think it's just when you're thinking about your clients, staying true to what you want to offer and educating them why other partnerships are also good for them too. Yeah.
I've definitely seen that with CPA firms that offer bookkeeping. They're really, really expensive.
Because they don't want it.
Well, when they don't, well, there is that. They don't want it. But I think too is probably because the CPA has to run some basic check on it and spend their own time looking at it even a little bit at the end of every month. And so their time costs more than just a bookkeeper. Whereas if you work with a bookkeeping agency like yours that specializes in keeping good books, you don't have that per se in that same way. The complexity, it's based on complexity and volume. And so things are different than going to your CPA directly where they're not focusing on it,
Great point.
So different types of efficiencies. Yeah. So same thing in marketing. Oh man, same thing. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Really. We have our packages that are a few $1,000s a month or more. Like we've pitched $7,000 to $10,000 a month, and then we've got packages that are a few $100 a month. Where I want to be. I know hearing that, everybody hears that and they're like, "Damn, you only want to be up there." It's like, yeah, that'd be great, but based on our niche and our focus, we now know where we're actually going to be through everything. But yeah, it's based on revenue, what you can afford, and that's kind of where we put you and where you're at. So, and it's really not as expensive as you think. So yeah.
And I think the other thing around, because you were talking about phasing out when you know that it's time, right? If it isn't something that you can keep part of it, I think the sooner you recognize it and you start to find this, do the search yourself for somewhere for them to land, taking that initiative even before you start the conversation is super important. And then for your own, right? Especially if it's a client that's going to dramatically increase your revenue or decrease your revenue. Taking an initiative to kind of like beef up your sales and your marketing, to have a plan where when you're going to phase them out, you have the funnel coming in to kind of replace that revenue in your business. And not that it's all about revenue, but we all know that you have to sustain something while still doing right by the client. So I would say just do the search yourself. When you know it's time and you can't keep any part of it, have them a great list of people to refer them to.
Yeah, cool. I think we've demolished this. If you have any questions or you're curious about any piece of this that you want to ask us, head over to whatthebiz.com. You can contact us there. Of course, we're on Facebook, social, all over the place. But on the website, you can leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you. Go check that out. Brigitte, what's coming up next for you?
Oh my goodness. We're still working on our training programs. Actually, we're going to come see you tomorrow in the flesh, the real. We're going to come watch your improv show. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, nice. We record these on Thursdays for anybody that cares. So it's like I'm looking forward to the weekend now.
To the weekend. Tomorrow, it's Friday. Sorry, I'm not going to sing it. So I am, like you said, performing tomorrow, doing some comedy and improv comedy. So that's going to be fun. Otherwise, I am looking business-wise, looking out to getting those webinars started on that growth side. Really want to get those going for definitely for current clients. And from there, hopefully buzz grows. We'll promote it out publicly, but I really want to get some of them in. And then, like I said earlier, this new client that just kicked off yesterday, I really want to make sure they hit the ground running too. So that's where we're focusing, those three things. Yeah.
Awesome.
Performing, webinars, and the new client. So
Love it.
All right. Thanks for joining us on What the Biz. We'll see you all next week. I said see. That's really funny. I'm going to keep this going for a second because I said see. Isn't that funny? You'll hear us all next week. All right.
Well,
see you
maybe
later.
you'll see.